Hi friends, you are welcome to Literature Simply. Simple way to learn literature and language. Friends, in the last tutorial we talked about Plato and his theory of literature. In this tutorial we are going to discuss about Plato's great disciple Aristotle and his views on literature, especially his views on tragedy. So let's start the tutorial with some basic information about Aristotle. So Aristotle is considered the most outstanding and famous disciple of Plato and has a very distinct place as a critic of literature and art. So his lifespan is generally considered as 384 before Christ to 222 before Christ. His contribution to the field of knowledge is immense and very fundamental. So friends, he composed 6 treatises or 6 texts on the literature and the art of oratory, but we have only 2 survived among them. The one is Poetics and the other is Rhetoric. Poetics is devoted to the field of literature or art, and Rhetoric talks about the very skill of oratory and the rules and regulations in the field of oratory. So friends, here our concern is basically with literature and his theory of tragedy. So it is necessary to discuss his poetics, because in poetics we have his views on poetry, art, then tragedy and epic. So let's think first about the plan of poetics or the structure of poetics. Here poetics is a treatise or text of 50 pages only, which is divided into 26 small chapters, and these chapters include, for example, here chapter 1st to 4th is devoted to poetry, chapter 5th discusses comedy, tragedy and epic in general. Chapter 6 to 19 are exclusively devoted to the concept of tragedy, which is our basic concern in this tutorial, and chapter 20 to 22 are devoted to poetic diction. Chapter 23 and 24 based on epic poetry. Chapter 25th again is devoted to poetry, and here we find that there are 5 chapters on poetry in the poetics, first 1 to 4 and the 25th, and the last, that is 26th chapter, is the comparison between epic and tragedy. So considering this plan, we can say that, or it is very clear or evident that Plato has given more space to the concept of tragedy, because there are 14 and the last chapter is completely devoted to the tragedy. So let's discuss about the concept of tragedy. First, we will think this concept in the form of points, and here we have some of the points like origin of tragedy, definition of tragedy, what is simple and complex plot, tragic hero. So these points we will discuss here in detail. The very first thing Aristotle talks about is the origin of tragedy. For Aristotle, art is an imitation or poetry is an imitation, and this imitation is of two kinds or two types. The first is noble actions of good men and mean actions of bad men. From high actions we have epic, and from low actions satire. Again, in his words, in his own words, what he did say about the origin of tragedy, here I quote: the graver spirits imitated noble actions and the actions of good men, the more trivial sort imitated the actions of meaner persons, at first composing satires, as the former did hymns to the gods and praises of the famous men. So here it is very clear that the origin of tragedy comes from graver spirit, or the serious actions are profound and these actions are imitated in the tragedy. So the origin of tragedy lies in the serious action and of comedy in lower action. So friends, as we have stated that the second point here for our discussion is the definition of tragedy. It is one of the most discussed definitions in the literature, and so here is Aristotle's definition of tragedy. Tragedy is an imitation of an action that is serious, complete and of a certain magnitude, in language embellished with each kind of artistic ornament, the several kinds being found in separate parts of the play, in the form of action, not of narrative, through pity and fear, effecting the proper purgation of these emotions. Friends, if we extract some of the qualities and features from this definition, we can say that there are 5 to 6 features or qualities which Aristotle mentions in this definition. The very first is tragedy is an imitation of serious action. Number second, the action is complete and has certain magnitude. So in tragedy we cannot imitate all the actions happened in the life of protagonist, but only those actions we have certain magnitude. The third here quality is it should be proportionate of size and length is required for the total effect, and uniformity among the various parts. Too long or too short a play will not serve the purpose of tragedy. So there should be proportionate size and length of the tragedy. Number 4, artistic ornament is one of the qualities of tragedy, which is comprises the rhythm, harmony and song. So it should be inserted as per the need and as per the requirement in the tragedy. The next or fifth quality here we have the form of action is different that of from the epic in tragedy. In epic the story is told by poet, but in tragedy we have live characters, live performance, and these live characters tells us the story. And the next or last sixth number is tragedy has cathartic effect on the mind of audience, that is purgation or purification of emotions through the pity and fear. So this is the second point, definition of tragedy. Here we have third point in the concept of tragedy, constituent parts of tragedy. Aristotle talks about 6 constituent parts of tragedy. Very first is plot. So plot is the first and most essential part of tragedy. What is plot? Plot is nothing but the arrangement of events, arrangement of incidents and their serial in the tragedy. So events, here we have the second character. It is second in the sequence of constituent parts of tragedy based on the actions of men, their qualities, feelings, etc. It imitates not men only but men in action. So this is significant about the character. The next or third constituent part is thought. So it is related to the mental and emotional actions and reactions of the characters in particular situation, how they think and behave. Plot, character and thought are the objects of imitation, as Aristotle very clearly states. Poet or playwright imitates these 3 objects. The next here we have fourth and fifth constituent part. One is diction and the other is song. Both these parts are the medium of imitation of the objects. Through it poet imitates the above object. Diction is a special kind of vocabulary used in tragedy or in poetry. So diction and song relates to the artistic or ornamental use of language for special effect. Then we have the structure of plot, the next point. So the structure of plot is very significant according to Aristotle, because there should be uniformity among actions, which is the very integral part of plot. So it must have proper beginning, middle and the ending. The action should not be mixed at any stage of the performance or sequence. Here we have Aristotle's theory of 3 unities, that is unity of action, unity of time and unity of place. So let's think about these unities. Here we have very first unity of action. So tragedy does not imitate all the actions of men which occur in or in his life, but only a few actions which are very serious and have lofty and certain magnitude. So there are many events happen in the life of hero, but all events need not to be imitated in the tragedy. Only a few events are significant. So this is the unity of action, and here we can say that the general events should be omitted in the tragedy. Then we have second, unity of time. So in the unity of time we have connection between time taken by the events in the play and their actual representation on the stage. So there are many critics who say that the actions must be very fresh and happened within 24 hours, and it should be then represented in the tragedy or on the stage. But there is no any evidence that Aristotle has insisted about this unity of time in his seminal work Poetics. And then we have the last unity, that is unity of place. So there is conformity between the place, unity of place and unity of time, because unity of place is related to where the events happen, where the incidents happen, and the time taken for the actions on the stage. So here location is significant, and frequent change in the location of high distance spoils the scene, and hence the location should not be changed all the time. There should be a very acceptable locations within the time constraint. So the last part of the structure of plot is ending. It is very crucial for Aristotle, because according to him, tragic or unhappy ending is the only proper and appropriate ending of the. So here is the last point, that is the concept of tragic hero explained by Aristotle. He talks about tragic hero. So there should be some goodness and badness, or the tragic hero should be the combination of these two things. He should not be too good or too bad. He must have some good elements in his personality, but also some badness, or rather he calls it as a flaw or fault, which will lead him to fall from his state of being good. He introduces the concept of Hamartia, that is the flaw or fault in the character of hero, leading him towards his misfortune or downfall. Such downfall arouses emotions of pity and fear among the audience. So catharsis or purgation of emotions, this is we call in general. An ideal tragic hero must have some of the following qualities. So he talks about some of the qualities. Number one, goodness but not too much goodness, appropriateness, real or lifelike, consistent or next we have consistent, next we have in possession of Hamartia, and the last quality he must be possessed, that is subjected to reversal of fortune, that we have already discussed, from good to bad, which will bring the effect of tragedy in the tragedy. So here we have some of the examples of this Hamartia. For example, we have Macbeth's flaw or fault or Hamartia is over ambition, Othello's suspicious nature, King Lear's lack of judgment, and Hamlet's dilemma caused to their downfall. So friends, these are some of the very basic concepts about tragedy discussed by Aristotle. So if you want more information regarding this, please go to website literaturesimply.com and read the article with the same title, The Views of Aristotle on Literature. So friends, thank you very much for watching the complete tutorial. Share this video among your friends, like this video, and significantly subscribe to Literature Simply for the coming videos, and press the bell notification icon so that you can get notifications on time.